After studying philosophy at Karachi University and Islam at the Alimia Institute of Islamic Studies in Karachi, under the guidance of the distinguished Islamic scholar, philosopher and Sufi Sheikh, Maulana Dr. Muhammad Fadlur Rahman Ansari, I returned to my native Trinidad and Tobago in 1971 to pursue further studies in international relations at the Institute of International Relations of the University of the West Indies, and then at the Graduate Institute of International Studies in Geneva, Switzerland. I then worked as a Foreign Service officer in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Government of Trinidad and Tobago until I resigned my job. I resigned from my job in 1985 in order to devote my life exclusively to Islamic scholarship. The 10 years that I then spent in New York until 9/11 were very important years in which I was able to grow in understanding and insight into world affairs as well as the world of Islam. I attended and I participated in numerous international conferences from my base in New York. And I also traveled extensively in the United States and Canada while lecturing in dozens of universities, colleges, churches, synagogues, and temples, and interacting with priests and rabbis and scholars. I participated in interfaith conferences in the United States with galaxies of Christian priests and ministers and Jewish rabbis representing Christianity and Judaism, while I was sometimes the solitary voice for Islam. I even lectured once in a Jewish synagogue. I lectured to almost every Muslim community resident in North America and hailing from every corner of the world of Islam. I also conducted the Salatul Jummah and delivered the khutbah at the United Nations headquarters in Manhattan for 10 years continuously and profited immensely from interactions with diplomats and ambassadors from around the world. I left the United States after 9/11 and then I traveled continuously around the world since then. And I also devoted a considerable time to emerge as a writer, with some 30 of my books already published and a few more are still on the way. I struggled during all those years to try to locate in the Quran an explanation of the reality of the world today. And it was that intellectual struggle which led me eventually to pioneer Islamic eschatology as a new branch of knowledge in Islam. Islamic eschatology is that branch of knowledge which examines from the Quran as well as from the Hadith, to the extent that the Hadith is harmonious with the Quran, which examines the reality of the world in the end time. We know that we are living in the end time when we witness the Jews returning to Jerusalem to reclaim it as their own, 2,000 years after Allah Most High had expelled them and banned their return, and then restoring a state of Israel in the Holy Land more than 2,000 years after it was destroyed by divine decree. My scholarly profile is one in which I recognize that the greatest gift I've ever received in my scholarly life was the methodology for study of the Quran which I received from my teacher, Maulana Dr. Ansari. I suspect that Dr. Iqbal was of some help to him in understanding that subject. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ once prophesied. He said, and I quote him in Urdu, he said about his ummah, "Meri ummat बारिश जैसे मैं ये नहीं जानता हूँ क्या पहले बारिश बेहतर या आखिरी. My ummah is like the rain. I don't know which shower is better, the first or the last. My view, this is my view. My view is that the last shower of scholarly rain in this ummah will come from this part of the world of Islam, Pakistan. And it will come from the scholarship of Iqbal and from his student and my teacher of blessed memory, Maulana Dr. Ansari. I learned from Suratul Kahf that the most learned of all men, who represents the model of scholarship in Akhirul Zaman, is he in whose scholarship knowledge that is externally acquired is harmoniously integrated with knowledge that is internally received. And finally, I learnt that the river of knowledge flows at its own speed.